Hello friends, and welcome back to another episode brought to you from my living room floor. My name is Kristen and I'm a knitter and military spouse living in Denver, Colorado with my family, and DoSo Knits is my channel where I share with you guys how knitting has interwoven into my life. This video is episode 34 of my podcast where I just share with you guys what projects I've been working on, what I've finished, what's bringing me inspiration, and all of that kind of fun stuff. Thank you for tuning in today and coming back. I know this podcast episode is a little bit farther out from my last podcast episode than what I normally do. We had Shane's family in town for a little bit and I just didn't feel in the mode last week to record a podcast. So here we are. So I did take a little extra time between podcast episodes just to get some things done, some progress on some projects, and I don't want to record a podcast if I'm not feeling amazing, so I waited a little extra, that way I can sit and chat and share with you guys today, and hopefully there's enough fun stuff that you will enjoy this episode. So, thank you as always for tuning back and clicking. I hope you have something to drink. I am drinking currently a LaCroix and just some water. So, let's see what we have today. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is the spring make-along that I am currently hosting on Instagram. The make-along is the DoSo Spring 22 make-along, and it's just an endeavor to take your knitting outside into the world. Any knitting that is done outside of your house, on your balcony, in a park, in a coffee shop, at doctor's appointments has been very popular, counts as an entry into the make-along. Just take a picture and share on Instagram using the hashtag. So I figured let's look and see what some of the people have made.
Over some violins, I wanna sing something that's genuine. Take a sec and maybe slow things down, 'cause this life thing is moving a bit too fast for me. Just wanna look at life dead in the eyes and go ahead and tell it to slow down. Life's moving too fast, slow.
So yes, thank you everyone who's shared so far. I love seeing where people take their knitting. Like I said, it's been a lot of doctor's appointments from what I've seen, some cafe knitting outside. It's just all been very lovely to see where other makers take their projects. So please share with that using the hashtag DoSoSpring22MAL on Instagram. Just make sure you have a public account and then you will be entered in for prizes at the end of the make-along. The make-along is running all of spring, so it goes all the way until June 21st. I have a information post on Instagram, which is linked in my stories as well, so you can see that there if you need some more information. But again, thank you everyone who's shared so far, and I hope you guys are enjoying this little low-key make-along. So, since the last episode, I have finished a couple of finished objects. The first thing that I finished was my Scrappy Granny Square blanket that I was making for Shane's mom. I do not have it here with me because I was able to send it back with her when they were done on their vacation here, but I did take a few photos. Overall, the blanket was a 7x7 Granny Square blanket. It came out to be about 40 inches in width and length, and I made the granny squares using about 7 to 8 grams of fingering weight yarn with a 3.5mm hook. I think I did about 7 rounds per granny square. Basically, it was the amount that I could do with the 10 grams of yarn and complete a row. So I did that. I did a join as you go method, so I didn't have any seaming at the end, which is definitely the way I think to do that, because I would hate to seam those together at the end, and I feel like they're very sturdy because they really just interlock together. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. I have plans to start another granny square blanket just because I feel like it's a nice blanket to have. It's really nice to use your 10 gram minis with. You could even do a 20 gram and just do bigger squares, which I think is my ideal goal. I'd love like a 12-inch granny squares blanket. I think that'd be really pretty. But yeah, I'm glad that is off my needles. I started that last year in an endeavor to get it done before Christmas. Obviously, I did not meet that goal, but I did finish it in the end of April and was able to send it off to its new home. So I hope she loves it and gets lots of use out of it. The yarns were from Nora George's Harry Potter Blanket Club, which is over, but Nora George does do lots of different mini clubs, which are really fun to see, but also you could just use leftover mini skeins, leftovers from skeins and other projects, or mini skeins. I know my collection of mini skeins is growing, and I think others might be in the same boat. But yeah, very easy, and I found it easier to take on the go because I could just start a square and take a couple of the minis with me, crochet until the last round, and then when I was home, I could do that last round with the joining to the rest of the blanket. So you can make it like an on-the-go type thing. It's just you gotta work kind of modularly if you want to do it like that. But a lot of times when we were like driving to a hike or driving to go see something, I didn't want to bring the whole blanket, so I could just bring a couple minis and work on the square as I went. Yeah, that is done, it's off, and makes me very excited. And if you watched my April Stash It and Stash Out video, you know the things that I finished last month. I'm just going into a little more detail and showing the projects now. But I did finish my April Desert Vista Dye Works socks. These are the RWS Society socks by Hookah Canyon Knits, and this is what they look like. So for these socks, I follow the pattern pretty exactly. I did a 2x2 rib. We have it's like a rib and slip stitch type of pattern down the front, which is really easy to memorize once you get the hang of it. You alternate where these little slip stitches go, and it just becomes really easy. So definitely something you can memorize once you get started. There's also a garter stitch heel flap with a slip stitch heel, normal gusset decreases, and then down to the toe. So as you can see, this sock is a gradient. It was dyed a double knit sock blank. So it formed two 50-gram balls that were pretty identical in their striping and everything. There's slight differences, and you can kind of see it in the heel, just barely, and kind of in the toe, just because each strand can take up a slightly different bit a dye. But these were a prize from finishing last year's sock knit along from Desert Vista Dye Works, which is an endeavor to knit a pair of socks with Desert Vista Dye Work yarn each month. And you have to start at the beginning of the year and finish in December. She does have a second knit along going where if you knit something in her yarn, there's a forum on Ravelry to enter in for a random drawing prize, but that doesn't count for the year-long make-along. But I really liked these. I'm glad I was able to do a pattern sock this month and to try something new. The gradient is really fun. This like pop of yellow on the heel is so good. The remaining bits of yarn that I have, I used about 50 grams total for these socks. So I have a good amount left of each of the two different colors. And it goes from like this purple to a dark purple to a dark blue. And I really love that color transition. So I'm imagining I will probably make another pair of probably Shortie socks with the leftovers from that. Another thing with the sock blank is when you're knitting it, the yarn can be like kind of crinkly, but I have blocked these and I do feel like they look pretty good. Not too much crinkle anymore. You can still kind of see it in the ribbing where some of the stitches are just kind of wonky, but I think with time that will come out. But yes, I did 56 stitches for my size 7 foot on a US 0, and I did 9-inch circulars for these socks. So the last thing I finished in April, which was kind of a spur of the moment cast on and bind off, were some marled DK vanilla socks. And I used Kay, the Crazy Sock Lady's free DK sock pattern for these. So with the tiny bit of extras for my granny stripe blanket or my granny square blanket, I had like 1 to 2 gram pieces left over. Some were closer to 3 grams. Even some I had like 12 grams. But my main goal was to really use up those tiny itty bitty 1 to 2 gram pieces. And so I made some DK marled socks, and I'll show you what they look like and then I'll talk more. Aren't they so fun? So with these, I had already done this first one. I did this first sock in like December when I had originally gotten some of the minis, and I knew I had enough to make a pair of socks, and I just created kind of a gradient to just work the socks together. And so when I finished the blanket, I knew I wanted to make the second sock, and I don't know, I was just really feeling a quick and easy project. And this literally took me 24 hours, I think. And so I started it, and then you can see the colors just kind of shift and change as you go. The way I did this is I started with the 2 colors held together, and I would just knit until one of the colors was about to run out, and then I would just incorporate a new color. I would do the weave in Steven as I go to weave in the ends. And so when I finished, all I have to do is weave in the top end and the toe end. You can kind of see how the transition shifted and worked. This section I think I did really well with blending. This really dark is where you can really see the transition. Switching to the really dark definitely can throw it off, and it did the same here, where you incorporate a really dark, but all the really light colors blend really well together in case you do marled socks. But I was trying to get them to match kind of, so you can see the tops are both kind of yellow into a red section into like blues and greens. But I was just working with what I had to really use up minis. For these I do the smallest size in Kay's pattern, which I believe is 40 stitches. I do 30 rounds for the leg, a slip stitch heel flap, And I do 40 rounds for my foot, which you can see I still have my little markers on here. And then the round toe from the pattern. I followed the pattern exactly for these. I'm really excited to have these as hiking socks, and it's just really satisfying to really use up those last pieces of yarn, you know? I mean, each one is probably a couple yards worth, but when you're knitting socks, it goes a long way. I have not cut the ends on this one, so I can kind of show you my weave and Steven that I did. These have been sitting down and I forgot about them. So you can see like here where I just weave the ends around and then I will cut these off. So that's how it will look. I can show you the inside of this one because this one I have cut the ends on, that you won't even be able to tell really where those ends are weaved in now. I mean, if you look and are hunting for them, you can see them. Like, I can definitely see where they are. But with time, they'll kind of also just like felt as much as superwash can felt together. But yeah, these are these socks, and I definitely have plans of making a lot more marled DK socks. Probably also some stripy DK socks and stripy vanilla socks. I have a lot of sock plans coming up, especially for summer sock camp. Let's move into some works in progress. So I have a lot of things on the needles. I'm currently looking at my little cart over there where I put all of my projects on, kind of to store them in the living room so they're not like completely thrown over the living room, but also still in sight so that I will work on them. I'd love to know how you guys like store your works in progress, because I feel like my system works and it's okay, but it could be better. So let me know how you store your works in progress, especially if you have multiple. If you're a person that only has 1, 2, your system probably won't benefit someone like me who has, I think, like 10. I mean, I have 11 bags, I just counted. And I did a reel the other day showing all my projects because I tell myself I'm going to limit the cast-ons and then I don't. Anyway, but I have a lot of projects on. I honestly have been a little monogamous in my making. So, like, I haven't touched all 11 because I think it's impossible to kind of, like, really see progress on that. And I feel like I usually pick up a project, focus on it for a while, and then I will switch to another one. So some of these are brand new that I'm going to show you, and some of them have been around for a while. And I'll just show you kind of what's happened with them. So, I know you're probably so sick of hearing about this work in progress, but I promise the end is coming. The end is so close. So this is my Birds of a Feather shawl by Andrea Mowry. This uses a single fingering weight yarn. You need 2 skeins of that, and if you're using fingering weight mohair, you should be good with 100 grams of that. I will show you where I am at. It's just so hard to show at this point because it's so big. So this is the beginning, and you alternate these sections of garter with garter sections of your mohair, and then you'll switch into, every now and again, a lace section of your fingering weight. And once you're done increasing here, you then begin a shift to shift your shawl into this, where it's straight here and then continues in the triangle here. So I am in one. First, I lied in the last time I showed this. I said I had 3 sections left. That was wrong. I had 5. I am in the last mohair section. And then I have the lace border. And then that's it. I actually have double checked. I know that that is it. My goal was to finish this by the end of April, but I ran out of mohair. So then I had to wait for it to come. The mohair I'm using is a German yarn. It is called Bridget No. 3 by Lena Grossa. It is a 40% mohair, 37% virgin wool, and 23% polyamide from nylon. My color is color 18, which is like they call it cream. So it's not pure white, it's more of a cream. An off-whitey cream. This yarn is not a fingering weight mohair like I thought, which based on the yardage makes sense. This is, on Ravelry, it's listed as a worsted weight mohair. So for each of these 25 grams, I get 100 meters. And 100 meters is 109 yards. And this pattern needs closer to the 460 yards. So more of the story is I ran out. I only had 3 skeins, which is only 300 meters, closer to 330 yards. And you need closer to that 400 amount. So I had to find where to buy this German yarn. I originally found one website that was going to cost way too much to ship internationally. And my initial plan was, if I couldn't find a company that was going to ship at not a ton of really expensive international price, to have a friend who's still in Germany to go to the yarn store, hope they still have this yarn, and then mail it to me. Because they could mail it, I know, for $10. But I did find a website that could ship. The website was Felici. It was an Austrian yarn store. I paid about 10 euros for 2 skeins of Bridget No. 3 because it's very inexpensive. It was 5 euros per skein for 25 grams. They are like quarter skeins. And the shipping was $10. So overall I paid 25 US dollars, 20 euro to get my 50 more grams of Bridget No. 3. I think this one will be enough, but I ordered 2 just in case. I guess yardage wise, it is like a fingering weight. Because 400 meters and 100 grams is pretty, I think, standard for a lace weight. Maybe a little thick. It's just weird that it's listed as a worsted weight on Ravelry. I do think, like, it's definitely less, like, it's more opaque than I think some fingering weights might be. But I think it's just because with the wool in here, it's just it's just a little thicker and a little extra fluffy. Yeah, so that's the story of that. And the reason I didn't finish in April is because I had to wait for that to come. It came like 3 days before the end of the month. And I had to start this new skein. I'm pretty sure I had to start it in the middle of this mohair section. So yeah. Anyway, we're very close. I really haven't picked it up much lately because I've been focusing on another big project. I was doing this very consistently as my 30 minutes every day, and I need to go back to that. But I hope you're not too sick of seeing this. I've done a lot since the last episode. In the last month, I was here where this little ghostie is from Simply Serving. Very cute. And I've done a mohair, a lace, a mohair, a garter, and a mohair has started. 2 sections left. Very close. Sherlock has graced us with his presence. Hopefully he won't be too loud. Hopefully he'll just sit down soon. The other yarn I'm using with my Birds of a Feather is this. This is Olan Singles, which is a 100% superwash merino, fingering weight, and the color is Veil. This is how much I have of my 2 skeins. I had a 1 full skein and I was able to buy 60 grams off of someone on Ravelry who was destashing their extras from another project. And that is the reason I list my partial skeins that I've used on Ravelry, in case some other knitter out there ever randomly needs something that I have. I weigh every skein of yarn after I finish a project and will retake a photo of like this. I will retake a photo of these and post it on my Ravelry in case anyone else needs it and I can pay it forward. Also, I really hope this is enough to finish the lace section. The next project, which has been taking up most of my focus because I have a deadline, is the Meriwether Wrap top, which is in the newest issue of Making, and it's by Nicole Knudsen. So this is a fingering weight top. It is crocheted, and it's a wrap top, which I just envision working very well within my wardrobe. I can throw it over things like dresses, and I saw it in the new issue of Making and knew I had to make it. So I've been working on this pretty exclusively. The size range for the pattern is a 32 all the way up to a 64-inch bust, and I am knitting a 48 bust circumference size, which is a little bigger than my bust, but the next size down, 43, was a bit too small, so I thought 48 would work nicely. So I'll show you where I'm at. So this is knit in pieces and then you seam it up. I have knit the back piece, which is this. I think this is one of the reasons I haven't wanted to podcast, because I've been working on this and it kind of looks like nothing. You know, it just kind of looks like a piece of fabric. It's a gorgeous fabric so far. You do a 1 stitch throughout, a single crochet through the back loop, and it makes this really gorgeous ribby texture. And you do short rows, so the waist, you can see, the top is wider than the waist at the bottom. So this part is pretty stretchy. It stretches really far. It stretches to the same width as the top, and the top could even stretch like so much because of the fabric. This yarn is not that stretchy. It is all in the fabric that you've made with the crocheting, which is actually, this is the stitch I use for my dishcloths. Single crochet through the back loop gives you a really nice rib. So I have now started the front piece, which it starts the exact same way as the back piece, and then we'll do some decreasing to get the like triangle pieces. So this is what my front piece looks like so far. Like I said, it just doesn't look like a whole lot. So there's a little barrier in my podcasting brain process. I'm using my Luke's Diner stitch marker from Simply Serving to mark my progress every day, which is very helpful. And even though this is the way the fabric sits, like this, you crochet it sideways. So it makes this vertical ribbing, but you work it. This is the way the finished piece will be, and this is how you work it. You can see me through it. So I am knitting this as a sample for Fancy Tiger Crafts, the store I work at. This is the yarn I'm using. This is Lino by BC Garn. The color I'm using is khaki. It is 100% linen. And so it's 150 meters for the 50 grams. I have just started the first front piece because both front pieces are identical. And like I said, the linen you think would be very rough. It's really not. And I'm surprised by how much stretch and give you get from the linen yarn, because like the actual strand itself, there is absolutely, this is me pulling, this is me not pulling. Pull, no pull. Pull, no, like there is no give in this yarn. So the fact that you can get this texture and this much is amazing. It really credits like what you can do with yarn into making it into a fabric. This is like the skein of yarn so far. And like I was saying, I've just started the first front piece and I am on my 4th skein of Lino. So the back piece took about 3, a little bit of, I don't think it took any of 4. And then the front piece, I really started with the 4th. I used up the last of the bit of the 3rd. So yeah, that's where this is. I just feel like it's not super exciting to look at, but I feel like it'll look really pretty when it's done. I have really enjoyed working with this yarn. It does get this like tangly kind of mess if you're not careful. I was using a Knit Pro crochet hook and the tip of it was just a little too blunt. So I did also end up buying this Furls crochet hook, which Fancy Tiger carries. We just got these in, and this has been a game changer for my crochet. They are more expensive, but I figured if there's ever a time to buy an expensive crochet hook, I mean, it's when you're making a garment, right? I'm spending hours on this garment, so I might as well keep my hand comfortable. And this tip is just a bit sharper compared to the Knit Pro, so that I can really get into the linen stitches, because the other one, since it was a little blunter, it was just a lot harder to get into the stitches and it was just taking extra time. I also felt like I was doing this versus this. I feel like it really fills up my hand and it's very comfortable. I have the other crochet hook I was using, so I'll show you. So these are the differences in the tips. So I think you can see how the Furls is just slightly more tapered at the very, very top versus the Knit Pro being more round. Which the Knit Pro being round is really great for, this is the hook I use for making dishcloths. And especially with that really round cotton, it's really nice and glides in easily. But this one, especially with the linen and with the hours I'm putting in, the extra like ergonomic handle is really, really nice. Plus, like, it's just gorgeous. So I did invest in this as well and have not regretted that at all. Absolutely love it. And I'm very excited for this to be done. With linen, I know it'll just like soften up over time. It is like pretty stiff still, so I know that first wash, it will really help. And with it being linen, I could just throw it in the washing machine with normal clothes, which is kind of exciting. So this is where most of my focus has been, because each short row repeat takes about 30 minutes. 4 rows takes me about 30 minutes to do 1 short row repeat. And I try to do 4 repeats a day, which is about 2 hours of crochet. Yes, but there will be a blog post on that when I finish, and that'll be on the Fancy Tiger website where I'll talk about it, and of course I will talk about it here for you guys as well. I just get some really nice photos taken for the blog post, which is always really fun. Okay, so now we're just gonna hop on the sock train. We won't spend too much time on the sock train because this is already getting long, and they're just a bunch of vanilla socks. So I'm getting my act together. I'm getting some classes set up to teach at Fancy Tiger. I am working on a sample for that. So I have started another DK vanilla sock by Kay. And this is my sock so far. I'm doing my first one. I just been working on this pretty sporadically. I need to just focus and get the sock done. I have finished my gusset decreases. The yarn I'm using is a DK yarn. It is called Scout by Kelborn. It's 100% wool. So no nylon in it in this sock, but I think it'll work really nicely because there's a good amount of plies. Here is our label. So 100% wool, 274 meters, and we have a really nice twist to work well for our sock. So a no nylon sock. We could reinforce the heel with some thread if we'd like to. That's my plan going into the class. We can reinforce the heel with thread if anyone's nervous, but I'm hoping the twist on this will work pretty well as a pretty hardy sock, and we can always mend our socks if we get holes in them. So yeah, that's the first thing so far. Again, I'm doing the smallest size. I am using US 3 9-inch circular to knit this sock. Easy. Second sock I'm working on. I showed you this first sock a while ago. I have done a little bit on the second sock here. This is a vanilla sock. I am doing toe up. This is a real hodgepodge of patterns. So I am sorry because I will not be able to point at one pattern for my toe up socks. The best pattern to look at is Mina's vanilla sock pattern because I think I use most of the techniques in her pattern. I think it matches the closest. But for this sock I'm doing toe up. I use Andrea Maury's tutorial for how to cast on the toe. And then I just increase to 60 stitches for my husband. I will do 70 rounds total. This is a little ramen bowl from Simply Serving that I use on his socks. And then when I get to the heel, I do a German short row heel, which Mina's pattern does have written out for multiple sock sizes. And then I do 2 color repeats for the cuff, which is about, it looks about 12 rounds. So I've done a little bit of work on this. I honestly forgot I worked on this at all, but it's been on my computer desk and is typically while I'm editing, my sock that I work on. I'm doing ChiaoGoo 9-inch circular needles. If you've been around, you know 9-inch circular needles are my go-to. This yarn is Knit Picks Felici in the color Under the Sea. Knit Picks Felici sock weight, which is an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. Yes, 80-20. Sorry, 75-25. They come in these little 50-gram skeins. This is how much I had left after the first sock, but I started the second skein for the second sock so that I can match stripes. I'll probably end up making another pair of shorties for myself from the leftovers of those. So back to my May Desert Vista Dye Work socks. This is the color I'm using. Here is the label. Desert Vista Dye Works. It's her Viso base, which is 462 yards, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. This is the colorway Coyote the Trickster. These are the two that come. So you get the main skein with this one and a coordinating mini. I'm using the mini in my socks and not in my husband Shane's because I am opting to do two Shortie socks this month. And I know you guys are probably like, Kristen, it's literally the 20th. It is, you have so little time left. We really just both need Shortie socks, and for it to count in the knit along, I have to make 2 pairs of Shorties. So I really need Shortie socks in my closet. So I'm just going to push myself to make lots of Shortie socks, which means I have to knit 4 pairs of socks instead of 2 every month. It's fine. Don't be mad at me. You're just going to see 2 pairs of socks knit on the same thing. I love how this is working up. So Coyote the Trickster, such a good color. So I'll be making 2 pairs of Shortie socks this month. I did his first one cuff down. I'm probably going to start the next one toe up. I'm just going to do the same toe in reverse, and then it'll be the same thing. 70 rounds for his foot. German short row heel. And then I did 6 rounds of cuff, of ribbing. And then I did 10 rounds of leg. So 16 total. So I find with him about 15 to 20 rounds before doing the German short row heel works very well for him. For myself, I do a mini heel flap above my German short row heels, which is also written in Mina Phillips' vanilla sock recipe. And I do about 10 rounds before doing that mini heel flap and then my German short row heel. So 15 before German short row heel. I'm at the toe, which is why this is on Magic Loop. But the rest of the sock, I'm using my Addy Sock Wonders US 0 to knit the socks. So my goal is to finish this toe tonight and start the next toe because we are going to a live show tonight called Brian Cox Live. It's a show about space, which I'm very excited to go and see. And I will start. I can do the toe quicker than I can do the leg, the heel, and the leg and the heel to get to the vanilla part. So I'm probably just going to do the second one toe up, which is the glorious benefit I find with the German short row heel is I can do the same thing top down versus toe up because the heel is done the exact same way both ways. So yes, this is the first sock of 4. Don't yell at me. I will finish all 4 socks in the next 10 days. The goal is just, oh, it's only the 15th. We're so fine. I was like, my math does not add up. We're fine. I just have to do 1 sock every 5 days. That's totally doable. I have not been working on this monogamously. I started this on the 10th and I'm finishing now on the 16th. My goal is every 5 days, so I will totally be fine. I started it last weekend when we went to a movie and I did like this much. I cast on the cuff and the heel and did about half the sock. And it's fine. It takes me about 15 minutes to knit 10 rows of sock. I timed myself today. So for Shane's 70 round sock, so that's 15 times 7, so an hour and 45 minutes for just the foot, probably 30 minutes for the toe. So they're pretty quick, it's just a matter of doing them. That is all of the knitting I had to share with you guys today. Like I said, I have a lot of works in progress that I have not touched, so there's no point in showing them. Some of them you may know that I said I would finish by this podcast and I didn't, so don't yell at me. It's fine. I just have overcommitted to knitting things that have deadlines. It's fine. I did want to say though, thank you guys so much. We have hit 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube, which is super exciting for me. It's just such a milestone that I knew would take a long time to get to, and I just really appreciate that you guys have helped me get there. It does mean that I can monetize my YouTube channel, which just means I can put ads in. So I'll probably have the ads on at the beginning and end of videos. So if you watch them, that just helps give me a little income for posting the videos. But always feel free to skip if you'd like. I really appreciate all of you. So I really wanted to do a little giveaway because we hit the 1,000 subscribers. So to enter, just leave a comment down below and I will draw a winner in my next podcast episode. But I'm giving away this little prize bundle. So this is a Lina My Knitting Notes. It's a gorgeous hardbound book that allows you to track your projects, your yarn purchases, so much in here. It's just since I have my own journal that I like to use, I didn't really want to switch over to a new system. And this is a gorgeous book and I thought it can go to a lovely new home. So this is the first thing in the prize. I'm also giving away a skein of DK yarn from Woolberry. This is 100% superwash merino. It is the colorway Cozy Afternoons, and it's her Berry DK pace, which is 231 yards for 100 grams. So I thought the Cozy Afternoons was just really fun. It's a nice neutral color, so I think you could incorporate it into another project, or it would make a really lovely hat in and of itself. So that's also included. And then I'm also giving away a little stitch marker from Yank Your Yarn. It's just this really cute beaded stitch marker. So, like I said, if you'd like to be entered in for the giveaway, please leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel if you are not. And it's just my way of saying thank you. I can't send a prize to everyone that's subscribed, but I can try to send out one nice prize to you guys. So I hope you enjoy. And again, please, I really, really appreciate all of you guys for sitting and watching me kind of like ramble and talk to my camera. It really means so much. So I am going to go so I can get this edited, get this dog taken out, and so we can go to our live show tonight. As always, thank you so much for clicking, thank you for watching, and thank you for your love. I will see you again very soon. Waiting for the air to turn off. The air is still not turning off. We're showing a slideshow right here. And yeah, slideshow. I do not have wait. Okay, Google. What's 100 meters as yards?
I don't know, but I found these results on search.
How do you not know?